Testing 1, 2, 3. Screen. Hey, Seisu, how you doing, buddy? What's going on with my green screen? Like a little bit of bleed. Too much. It's pretty good. Was having technical issues. I was setting up one computer for the stream and then the other one automatically updated, and then I was like, no, because it was all done and ready and set up. So I had to like wait for the update and then do all the setup again. It was quite cool. So it is a good map. I like to pick some good ones when we start the stream up. Right? My computer likes to think I need them pretty much always, like several times a day. Raise your hand if your computer likes to give you updates when you don't want it. Greetings, Swedish Cook. How you doing, my friend? Made sure my phone is muted. Now you have my undivided attention. So, welcome, one and all, to the Damn Stream, as we like to call it, our recurring bi-weekly stream across all our major platforms where we showcase amazing maps and 3D assets from the Steam Workshop. I picked this map before we started today. It's called Fire Newt Cavern, and honestly, this is just the beginning of it. It's quite extensive. Really excited to show it off and share it with you. And we'll be taking suggestions, and I'm open if any of you have a map that you recently shared on the workshop or a 3D model that you would like us to check out. Let us know in chat, and we will take a look. Remember, during these streams, if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, etc., feel free to chime in. These streams are AMA format. As the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, I know a lot about the product. I have over 2,500 hours of map making and exploring and troubleshooting. So I am here to guide you, provide live support, answer questions. Maybe you're looking to purchase Dungeon Alchemist and you have a few questions before you do. Feel free to ask. And if you have any suggestions or feedback for the development team, I'm here to listen to it. So please tune in, enjoy the stream, and let's enjoy the Damn Stream, as we like to call it. Oh, yes, Swedish Cook asks, is good. Hello, how are you today? Still hot there? Yes, it's hellishly hot. Triple digits. It was like 115 yesterday. Noob Didoob. How you doing? How is never have I ever seen a stream on Twitter, right? We're trying to make it a more common thing. So, this particular map here is called Fire Newt Cavern. You can find it on the Steam Workshop. I actually sorted by most recent to find it. Let me get the link for it actually really quick. Okay, just got the link. Unfortunately, I cannot share that on TikTok, but I can share it on Twitch. So, but if you follow that link, it'll get you into this map, which was made by Brambino, the great Brambino. I said he's the great Brambino. Sorry, that's like a Sandlot joke. So, no, I'm just giving, I picked a map which represents how I feel, due to the current temperature in Las Vegas, where I live. So the map was made in mind for a particular species of elementals known as fire newts. It was designed for a dungeon to dissuade any short, long rests inside, as too much heat exposure will cause rapid levels of exhaustion to take hold. A series of fire newt warriors, warlocks, and a boss shaman at the end of the dungeon inside the pool provide a series of challenges as the levels of height and terrain make it difficult to enter, fight in, and survive. Here, the altered stat block for a fire newt chieftain that I used to ensure this dungeon provided a challenge to any of my party. And this person does commission work, so you can ping them if you're interested. So, the map, it looks kind of small at first, but it's actually quite large. 90 by 45. So, quite a decent chunk of map. You can do a joke entry, a serious entry, whatever, you know, inspires you, random ladybird. That's the point of the damn challenge. So we host an ongoing map making challenge across our stream platforms and in our Discord called the Damn Challenge. The reason we say the damn stream, damn challenge is when you save a map in Dungeon Alchemist, it's saved as a .dam file. That's our proprietary map format. Stands for Dungeon Alchemist Map. And so we have a challenge where we pick a theme, which the current theme is tiny home. And using that as an inspiration, we encourage everyone to make a map of any shape or size and submit it to our Discord Damn Challenge channel, following the rules pinned at the top. If your map is the winning map, you win a $10 Hero Forge gift card. Your map is the first map featured during the Damn Challenge stream. It's featured in our weekly newsletter, as well as, you know, just a little bit of notoriety and bragging rights in our community. It's a fun little friendly competition. Nothing serious about it. Ultimately, I love the Damn Challenge because it inspires so much creativity from our community. A lot of people will get really, really cool results and come up with unique ideas. And the current theme, Tiny Home, is definitely delivering some interesting concepts. But back to the map at hand. If you do submit two, just let me know which one's the serious one, okay? You can DM me. So, Liam, if you're looking to make a second floor using our AI tools, unfortunately you cannot do that at this time. You can do it by hand, though, using either our terrain tools, which you can raise and lower terrain, or any of our structural objects, which are located in the object panel under structural. So as you can see here, there is a second level, but it was using terrain tools, rocks, etc. Now, that's not to say it's impossible. There's some amazing multi-level builds, but it's just not AI supported at this time. So you draw the first floor with the AI, and anything above that you'd have to put in by hand using assets you find in here or on the Steam Workshop. To give you an example, I actually built a 4-story wizard tower. If you're still here, Liam, I'll show it to you in a couple minutes, and you can check it out. It's definitely possible to build it. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease. You know, you just got to place some things by hand. And if you're interested, I will teach you how to do it. Let's see, yeah. In the asset browser, there's all sorts of objects like this one here. This is the one I use to build a multi-level tower. So we only just launched our last update, titled Magic, about 30 days ago. So there really isn't a timeline on our next update yet. It'll probably be a couple of months. I mean, I'm guessing probably 2 to 6 months from now. Anywhere between in there. I'm gonna hurry and show you that tower, Liam, and then we'll bounce back to this map. Because, if anything, I love to provide support during these streams. So, let's go to our damn repository. Mapmaker Monday. We'll go to my wizard tower. which I'm going to be uploading to the workshop soon. I just have some finishing touches. We've got a couple people asking about multiple floors, so we'll cover it. Multiple floors, as I stated, is definitely possible by hand. Now, if you're waiting for an AI solution, our next update that is titled Fun with Objects, there's no ETA on that, but that's when we're committed to releasing multiple levels and roofing. So we have a roadmap on a website called Upvoty. Let me grab the link for that. Can you share that, Seisu, across any platforms? So our roadmap here, Upvoty, shows what's coming up next, what was in our last update, and what we have planned to work on. And as you can see here, multi-level support with roofing, drag and rotate room, separate ambient indoor lighting, place doors without walls, stairs going up to have landing, indoor balconies and open space. That's all something we plan to address in the next update. Now back to Liam's question. Multiple level, how I accomplished it on this build, and I'll show you very carefully. This is actually 4 floors. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then there's one kind of just underneath this this roofing. This is navigable in first person as a token. Every floor is navigable. Or you can pull it apart and, you know, export each layer as a separate floor for like virtual tabletop or print, etc. So I'm going to go into like a top down so you can see what the map is about. This is a wizard's respite, as I call it. This wizard built this tower in the middle of a dense forest in the middle of nowhere so they could study and practice their spells and get away from it all and really just get away from the pressures of, you know, like a city. The roof here is a custom asset that the lovely Mrs. Mac made. She is an amazingly talented 3D sculptor. She made this custom for me, and I uploaded it into the asset importer and shared it on the Steam Workshop. It's labeled Observatory Tower. Anyone can download it and use it in their builds. Moving on to the top floor here. This floor piece is actually one that I got off the Steam Workshop as well. If you go to Asset Browser, Browse Collections, this tower building assets, just download this collection. Comes with a bunch of banisters, floor pieces with a circular kind of spiral side stair, center stair, hatch, no stair, different stairs to match it. This was made by one of our very talented map makers and 3D artists named Swedish Cook, who is present at least on our Twitch stream. And each of these is essentially the foundation of that floor, and I made sure all the objects for that floor were on top of it. So the observatory level, you have the floor, you pull it to the side, pretty much everything in it, save this balcony, is on that level. And I can undo and bring it right back to it. Now, how did I get these on top of each other, you're wondering? If you go into the object panel, there is this toggle here named collisions. In my opinion, it should say advanced and open a menu with several options. But as is, this is great. If you disable collisions, not only does it allow you to put objects close to each other without those red markers telling you no, so you can merge objects together to make kind of new, unique ones. Like you see this rock outcropping is a custom one by merging objects like a bunch of rocks together. Alternatively, a few extra behaviors are unlocked. One, you can scale objects far past their normal capacity and far below their normal capacity. And 2, you can raise objects up and down. So you see this little arrow here? This appears when you disable collisions. You can raise objects up and down. And I use that to my advantage to create and raise up and level each floor. So all the objects of this floor are essentially stacked on this floor. Move it to the side. Pull that one aside. All the objects in here. This is the bedroom. Bathroom, bedroom, cabinets, etc. And each of these was, I just started on the base floor, decorated it, started a new floor, raised it up on top. Now, one thing I did that I feel like was pretty clever in this, When you're building in Dungeon Alchemist, you may have noticed that there's snapping points. I made sure that the circle was on a snapping point to begin with, so that way all of them can easily align with each other by just simply snapping to that same point, just above it. So essentially all I've done is raise the room up and snap it. Raise the room up, snap it. And each of these is a separate floor or cutaway that if I wanted to, I can put them all back together, or I can individually delete sections. So let's delete this top piece. Let's delete this floor. Let's delete this floor. And it ultimately, I can export them as new floors each time. Does that make sense? Because you have the option to place objects by hand, Dungeon Alchemist has an incredible amount of freedom in what you can build. I mean, people take advantage of this and build sci-fi maps because they import their own custom assets and then build a sci-fi map. You don't have to rely on the AI for building everything. It's just a speed tool. Does that make sense? I hope that helps, Liam. But many objects in Dungeon Alchemist snap together like Lego or blocks. Check these out. If you come in here, like all these stone platforms, like these ones are some of my favorite. These work great as like a city wall or a castle wall. Just hold control. If you don't have collisions on, if you have collisions on, they'll snap automatically. And then hold shift as you place it. Boom, duplicate. Boom, duplicate. The shift automatically copies it, and the control snaps it. So ultimately, it's very rigid, simple building. It's incredibly simple to do multi-level once you learn a couple basic stuff. Yeah, it's turned out amazing. Let's do a first-person tour of the inside, and we'll get back to the Fire Newt Castle, or the Fire Newt Dungeon. Oh, we've got this cat here. We'll use that one. By the way, if you are enjoying the stream, can you all do me a favor? Hit that like, hit that share, or even drop a follow so you don't miss out on the stream next time. Uh-oh, please don't crash. So, we've got the observatory level, which has the conical observatory roof and a telescope area with a balcony and a secondary smaller telescope. Notice there's a wire on the inside of the tower that goes all the way up to the spire on the top. Kind of like a Frankenstein type sitch with the switch. I might even put like a connector of this electricity so it comes over here and links to it. But then there's just like a little desk with some, you know, some different types of things that you might see in an observatory. There's the Starcatcher chart, or the Starcatcher scope, which, and you know, you can put a star chart in there. There's also a blackboard, which I plan to put some star charts and other information, and then a few little treasures and whatnot. Alternatively, you don't have to make this an observatory. You could put a doomsday device up in that same spot and make it into your little, you know, your little Futurama lab. Yeah, I probably could. That's a great idea. Here is the bedroom. I put a little bathtub. There's a rubber duck, steak, some books, and some various, you know, soaps and ointments. His treasure stash and dressers, wardrobes, some random magical items from his past, a cloak. Here is Seymour, who is my puppy. I like to put him in my maps whenever I can. This lovely wizard bed. And a little, you know, spot to, like a basin, wash basin. Let's go down another level, check out the library/study. All of these blackboards will have custom images in them when I'm done with the map. There is a little, you know, kind of like a workstation, alchemy station, library, book lounge. Then you can go further down, which goes into the hearth/kitchen area, storage for food, cleaning, you know, cooking. adequate storage for various, food items. And notice there's a hatch here and an exit point. Unfortunately, there was no way to add a door into a circle room when I started building this. We added round rooms to the first floor after I built this. And rather than start from scratch and redo it all, I just made a simple workaround door, which I could just make this a door in a VTT or whatever, and it works for that purpose. Allows the players to go through. Not too stressed about it. Now, let's check outside, if we will. Okay, so outside is just as fun as the inside. A lovely garden with food and herbs and flowers. So they have different things to make, concoctions, potions, etc. Or maybe different spellcasting items that they might require. Here's an apiary, because who doesn't love having an apiary? An outhouse, which I think is kind of required in some cases. And then we also have a shed / workshop with like a little smithy / forge area. And inside is just storage for work tools and the like. A well. And then that hatch that I showed you that was inside earlier actually leads to this escape area, a secret tunnel. Secret tunnel! So basically, a whole assortment went into this build, and the build actually started as a suggestion from our community. Someone said, hey, can you teach me how to build a wizard tower with a sewer escape? So I built it. Now we have it. Sewer turned into a tunnel. But, yes, we do have that. All right. Wow. Thank you for all the likes, TikTok. Much appreciated. I see that we just went from like 3 to 600 likes. 670 likes. Thank you so much for the love. Much appreciated. And the good days to use. Okay, let's move back to that other map because, that other one was quite cool. Speaking of the reason I was delayed is I was waiting on the dimensions for the blackboards for the art. I got the dimensions, so I'm going to update the wiki and also get some graphics in that build, and it'll be done. So, because some of those blackboards were new, and I didn't have the dimensions for them yet. Back to this map. Let's do a quick aerial. It is quite extensive and goes further and further and further back. But there is an impressive amount of verticality present in this map that would present your players with a lot of challenging situations where they may be facing enemies who are above them, giving the enemy advantage over them, or maybe potential half cover. So, as you can see here, there's some ledges, and the ledges go into caverns. And the ledges are above, so unless you have the ability to, easily climb or fly or jump, you might be at a disadvantage, depending on your level, with enemies above. Let's place a token here and we can take a look at it. Disable collisions. Actually, we'll place a... That looks really cool from this angle. Oh no! Oh no! I fell through the collider! Probably not very first-person friendly. Okay, I'm gonna move the token manually. Yeah, the token doesn't want to be placed up here at all, because there's no colliders on these rocks when they've been oversized this way. But, in a top-down setup, it'd be perfectly fine. Especially on an export. Let's take a look at it. So that's essentially the whole map there. So you have lower levels, Upper levels, impressive. Yeah, the token is struggling with this area. It's the rock is having a hard time with that particular rock. I'm not sure why. It should recognize the collider and place it, but it is what it is. I didn't actually build this map. This one here is a community shared map. So this map is on the Steam Workshop. I located it just before the stream started. Are you talking about the tower, Liam? Because on the tower, I worked on it about an hour and a half a week for about 5-6 streams. So it's about 5 to 10 hours of build time, roughly. Because during the map make on every Monday I do a stream called Map Maker Monday, and I build a map live while people share, suggestions, feedback, and watch and learn. And the problem is it's a 2-hour stream, but we spend about 10 hours, or not 10 hours, 10, 15 minutes doing an intro. We provide live support during the stream. At any given point, I may drop what I'm doing and answer questions. And sometimes I get distracted. I have what I call streamer brain. And streamer brain is essentially something that affects all streamers, well, most of them at least, where they kind of have a short attention span and forget what they're talking about or doing at any given point and get distracted. So yeah, I sometimes will kind of not focus on building and answer questions or chat with the community or, listen to feedback, take notes, things like that. So sometimes it's just not a straight build stream for 2 hours. Wolfie, how you doing? Welcome back. What you been up to, brother? But this particular map I found on the workshop. Someone else made it. Their name is Brambino. I do like the workshop for that reason. There's nearly 9,000 maps. We're 30 maps away from hitting 9,000. I think when we hit 9K, I want to do a giveaway to celebrate. So I've got these commissioned dice these sets of dice and this dice tray that I was going to give away when we had a year of Cartomancer Chronicles, our weekly newsletter. But the commission had some setbacks, and as a result of which we had to delay the giveaway until it was too late to kind of make sense anymore. And so I'm thinking when we hit 9,000, we'll have an over 9,000 map giveaway. What's my favorite class in D&D? I enjoy casters for the most part. I'm either an artificer or a wizard. 3 geese in a trench coat. Honk, honk, honk. How you doing? Welcome back. Good to see you again. Working, also panicking about the dragon and tomorrow in our session. Oh my gosh. And most people play lots of D&D and don't really experience dragons, considering how much the dragon is half the title. You know what I mean? So that has got to be exciting. Any idea of what kind of dragon? Warlocks are cool. What's your favorite subclass for Warlock? Liam, I really love the Djinn pact Warlock. I just think it's an interesting pact to have a one with a genie. The Great Old One's cool too. Thinking up a backstory for your character, 3 geese in a trench coat? What kind of character is it? Goodness, this is impressive. And I'm pretty sure there was a loot cave over here. Hey, look at all that loot. Look at all that loot. A white dragon that's been corrupted by blight. Interesting. That's going to be quite the fight. Warlocks are such an interesting class, and they're so versatile, especially if your DM allows you to do short rests pretty regularly, right? So we're showcasing various maps from the Steam Workshop. This particular one, the Fire Newt Cavern, I located this morning in the recent maps section, recently shared. And ultimately, I felt this map was just super impressive for several reasons. The scope of it, quite large, 90 by 45. Very detailed, and it has an impressive amount of verticality. So you have multiple levels, like these tiered kind of rock areas, outcroppings, ledges, and then under all that is areas where you can loop through. This just reminds me of like an Unreal Tournament map or something like that. So the DM who made this map proposed that it's so hot inside that they take levels of exhaustion even when they try to rest. So it's not conducive to keep staying here and resting. I don't know though, that doesn't work for something like Rope Trick or... Hey Eric, how you doing? Living the dream. Ooh, I didn't even know this was here. Like a whole Steam area hiding under this. So there's a water port area. Is there a back access? No. This treasure trove looks really good. Yeah, no, honestly, Liam, warlocks are a fun, interesting class. I definitely like the concept of how patrons work and how, you know, pretty much anyone could become a warlock. Um, you know, if they come across the right object or demon or whatever, or the right circumstances present themselves. Honestly, off and on since I was a young lad, I've been playing D&D. I've only played 5e extensively for like the last probably 3 years, and started DMing the last year or so. But I played D&D when I was little as well, like since I was about 8 years old. I remember my first game of D&D was at my friend Nick's house. Nick had an older brother who, I want to say his name was Devin. I wasn't friends with his brother, you know, I was friends with him. And Nick, we would hang out, you know, after school and during the summer and stuff because we played sports together. We liked rollerblading. He had a trampoline. We'd jump on that. We both enjoyed Nintendo and PC games and stuff like that way back in the day. And I would go over to his house, and his brother was way into D&D, and I have to think it was like probably second or third edition D&D at this point, because this is like early 90s, right? And he asked us, "Hey, do you guys want to play D&D?" And I'd never played, and he explained it to us, and he said, "This sounds very cool. Like, it sounds like this, you know, it's a fantasy adventure where you can be a character." Where there was a show at the time that was called Hercules that was pretty popular. He's like, you could be like Hercules or someone with magical powers, or, you know, you could be an archer, all these different things. And so he had me hooked, and I was like, okay, I'll play. And so he set us up, and our first tokens were, I was a penny. And then we had played on a piece of graph paper. Tito, this is an amazing dungeon, isn't it? This one was shared on the Steam Workshop by a creator named Brambino, and I just thought I had to share it with our community because it's so beautiful. It looks really good. I'm glad you enjoy Dungeon Alchemist. Do your players enjoy it as well? You know, Three Geese in a Trench Coat, you kind of almost written the backstory there. You could just kind of enhance on their love for books and their thirst for knowledge, and their expansion of that is part of the reason they want to explore and go out and do more things. As far as you're from Andorra, nice. Well, welcome to the stream. But I remember being so confused about like D&D at first, because I would be like, I want to do something, and he's like, okay, you can say you want to do it, but the dice have to affirm that you did it or not. And I was like, what? And so I didn't comprehend dice at that time and like what they meant to the game, but I definitely got the hang of it really quick. I enjoyed it. Problem was, in the early 90s, we had something called Satanic Panic, where there was a lot of news and like religious panic around Dungeons and Dragons. And a lot of that is now seen as kind of like blown out of proportions and somewhat of a silly response for the era. And we realize, D&D is just math, and it's some tabletop games, no different than, say, playing like Risk or something like that, a game with a set of rules with your friends. And I didn't get much opportunity to play when I was younger because of this. But one way I was able to play more was games like Baldur's Gate. Because Baldur's Gate wasn't labeled Dungeons and Dragons. So I was able to play that. I was able to play Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights at home. Tito, I have not played Pathfinder that much. I have a little Pathfinder starter set that I got to try and learn. And then I've also been reading into Starfinder a little bit. The problem is I don't have the mental bandwidth to learn a bunch of new systems all at once. Mainly just because my family life and my work life, that balance mixed with my hobby life, I only have time for so many hobbies, right? So I do really want to learn how to play Pathfinder and Starfinder, and I think what I'm going to do is probably pick one of the two and start transitioning into that and learn and go from there. Oh, really? That's cool, Random Ladybird. So your post office is releasing a special set of D&D stamps for the 50th anniversary of D&D. That's pretty cool. That's impressive, actually. What do we got? Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Let me take this puppy.
What I got? Oh, you. Oh, you're so ham. He just got his bath.
You just get your bath. You just get your bath.
Oh, Liam, all the Baldur's Gates are great. I have Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, like the physical media of them, the old big boxes, because they used to come in like big cardboard boxes that had like amazingly detailed art on it and stuff. And I have, plus I bought them digital in the remasters when they came out on Xbox and on Steam. I have also gotten some free versions over the years from like Amazon and different game services that give out free games with their subscription. Oh, now I'm jealous, Random Ladybird.
Who's that good boy? Where's that good boy?
Okay. My dog just had a bath, and so he's just snuggling me. He's a little chilly. He's shivering. He just likes to come and hang out on the stream every once in a while, Peter. He's a bit of a celebrity in our community. Where's your mom? Mom. Close that door behind you. Thank you. Him's so cute. He's a good boy. Baldur's Gate 3? Yes, I love Baldur's Gate 3. I played it pretty much all through the beta. Longtime supporter of what they were doing there. My family and I, we played it together quite a bit when it first came out. But yeah, this map is something else. Absolutely stunning map. All right, let's go look on the workshop and find anything else. Let's see. One of my favorite things to do is hop on the workshop and sort by most recent and just see what is there. Because typically there's things that just will surprise you, catch you off guard. This here is a wizard tower that's separated into 9 levels. So a lot of creators in our community, instead of doing a stacked tower like I showed earlier, will do them separate levels on the same map. Because typically virtual tabletops, if you have a wall, it presents a line of sight that your players can't see through. So if they move between floors to, you know, let's say this was floor 1 right here, and this was floor 2. Each floor is a different level that you just have them teleport to or move their tokens to. Or, depending on your virtual tabletop, you might even be able to automate that feature. Like in Foundry, you can do Monk's Active Tiles, so if they walk to a certain door or portal or staircase, it'll automatically load them into the next section. And all of it's separated by line of sight, so they're none the wiser. Let's open this up and take a look at it. I just refreshed the stream chat. I haven't seen a YouTube chat come through today, and I wanted to make sure it was working. By the way, if you ever download a map from the workshop and you get this message, what this means is there's custom assets in this map that are available on the Steam Workshop. They're free to download, and it's just prompting you to download them to get the full functionality of the map. Oh, cool. Thank you, Random Ladybird. So Random Ladybird just said that in Foundry, you can do that with the staircase mod, too. So depending on the mod, you might be able to address it, automate it. So essentially, each of these represents a single floor, right? And each of them is a different challenge. Here we have a golem. Sell a well of souls. This looks like some sort of... Not even sure what to think of this. Plant room, a library, potions. Different room equals different things. But this is a 9-level tower, and all they've done is essentially set it up to be... Each of these represents a different floor. I wonder if the overlay... Nope, the overlay does not tell you. It would be really nice if each of the floors was labeled in the overlay layer. Because you can put labels on your map like this. Something like this. Make it small and... Floor 1. You know? But then when you export it, it's much more apparent in the export layer as an overlay image. Yep, it is a garden. Thank you for that. I was drawing a blank. I don't know why my brain was not working. My brain not do good today. Just having one of those days where I'm like having a hard time articulating some of my thoughts. Ugh. Simple yet effective map. Giving you a lot of versatility and essentially a very simple multi-floor build. Alright. Look at another map. Mapperino. Okay. A flying ship. Let's check it out. I.e. airship. Or arcane ship. YouTube is slow today. Hey Andrew, glad you're coming through over there. Honestly, like, it does seem a little funky. It just could be YouTube. There's not much I can do to make it better. Look at that. Great use of an abstract. One cool thing about this map, too, is you could easily just change the biome to, say, like, a green screen. By the way, green screen is going to get a little bright. I'm just going to change it for a second. Oh, no, it deleted some of the ship. Not cool. That's not cool. Should not delete any part of the ship. Not cool. Anyway, if it didn't delete that, it'd be a lot better. I'm assuming because these are under the ground. But if they built that on a green screen, you could superimpose this airship on any environment you want. So essentially, it could be superimposed into the clouds, or over an ocean, or the astral sea, etc. I really like the use of these fans. Will you delete that message from book score, Seisu? Unless I need to do it, I'll do it. Thank you. I'm glad that Twitch auto blocks the links, but still, it's kind of frustrating. Hey Claw, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. The Claw. Oh. The clouds are really pretty. I wouldn't be surprised if it was an AI generated image and then they just put some of the effects of like smoke on it. Yeah, if you it's a little tricky sometimes. You just click on their username, left click, and then it shows a ban icon. It's a circle with a line through it, kind of like the no smoking sign. So if you left click on any username on the screen in chat, now you know again. It's just not, it doesn't happen enough. Like, honestly, our community's pretty chill. How often do you have to ban someone in the stream? Like, not often at all. And so it's actually kind of awesome how chill our community is. It is pretty cool, huh, Jabba? Claw, that's a good question. Give me 1 second to mull over that, because I do have a few pet peeves of things that DMs can do. But ultimately, it's not the end of the world if they do it. You know what I mean? So this here is a lovely airship built by hand, and then they placed it over this abstract of what is essentially a large image here. This is a cloud. How they did that is they just went to the object panel and grabbed an abstract. These abstract objects, they're essentially a blank slate that you can program an image into. So in this case, they put this cloud image into it and then just stretched it across the entire map until it was, you know, the right size. Okay, let's see. So I don't like it when a DM is playing DM versus player. And by that I mean a DM that it takes it personal when you do well or have clever solutions to the problems they present. Or gets confrontational about it. So by that I mean, let's say you just hit, L5 and just got a new ability. And by all rights and reasons, any new mobs you encounter in the world shouldn't know that you have this ability unless you've used it on them or their friends or family or someone part of their crew or whatever, or they witnessed you doing it. And yet they seemingly have to have counters for any new thing you have. And that to me is just kind of lazy DMing, and kind of confrontational DM versus player. So I don't like it when a DM essentially is playing the game ahead of you and making it so incredibly slanted against you in every way possible that you have to come up with ingenious solutions or workarounds or whatever just to come up with a win. And even then, they're mad that you come up with a clever solution. I don't know. I do think some people as a DM want to play against the players instead of actually facilitating the game. So that's, I would think, one of the things that you can do that as a DM that is not really cool. And it's not a vibe, if I have to say. Now, that, if you want to do a fun evil thing to your players, yeah, that consequences can stack up if they're fighting a big bad again or someone who's experienced them in the past. Like, I could see someone building a strategy to you if you've ran into them several times, right? Or they've been scrying you or something. But ultimately, I don't think a random group you run into on the highway should have a counter for everything you do. I don't mind counter spell. What I'm saying is the stat blocks were specifically designed in a way to make the encounters, like, the stat blocks didn't make sense or were very specifically homebrewed to give them stuff that they shouldn't have. Yeah, or, someone who's seeking revenge on someone they might have captured or, slew in the past, right? I understand there's going to be situations where revenge and strategy comes into play, and there will be people stronger than you constantly. I don't mind running into a strong enemy. What I mind is running into a strong enemy that seems to know every single skill I have, every weapon, every bit of armor I have, and know what I have in my inventory, and then has a strategy to combat that. Does that make sense? Okay, how so, Sean? How so, Sean? Let's hear it. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Very beautiful animated ship map, and I love that, you know, the new round and diagonal walls allow for a lot more creative ship building. I'm excited to see what kind of new, like, ship maps people build. Sean, did I get myself into something bad here by asking? So you leaned into it so far they hated it? Ooh. This is pretty. Wow. Surprised they didn't just use a water wheel, because we have a water wheel. Oh well. Yeah, this could definitely fit into that Mouse Ritter setting, right? That's my only complaint. I mean, it's clever, but it's not like, you know, you can make a law that says they have to pay you that. So that's kind of a flaw unless you're like the king of the land and can change all the laws to facilitate your master plan of forcing them to pay you a tax. That's the only flaw I see in the plan at the moment. Oh my, the trees really give it a scaled feel, doesn't it, Random Ladybird? These little shacks feel tiny by comparison. One way I like to torture my player's claw, and I don't even think it's torture, but I know a lot of players don't like to be railroaded, but once in a while I have kind of a story plan that I kind of want followed. Either I'm trying to, you know, hang a lantern for them to get to a certain point to guide the story point, or to track down a certain item, or meet a certain NPC. So on occasion I may suggest, you know, they follow a certain path, and if it doesn't happen, despite my best efforts, because I would allow them to, you know, follow their own path, I essentially have, you know, I'm assuming many of you set up random encounters for travel, where your players essentially would, you know, run into a random encounter of maybe some thieves or someone who needs help, or they come across, you know, somebody who was robbed, or any number of things on the road, or maybe wandering salesman with goods to trade. But what I will do is incorporate that encounter that I really was hoping to have at a different point into a random encounter on the road. Hey Garfield, how you doing? We are just checking out some amazing maps on the Steam Workshop, and also at the same time discussing ways we like to play D&D and set up our gameplay. Now, in that regard, I was saying how I don't like to railroad my players, but sometimes I do like to hang a lantern to guide them to a certain arc, or maybe an arc for a particular player, or a mission that they should follow. And that being said, you know, I let them kind of do their own thing, but once in a while, if it's not happening, I'll have that arc as in a random encounter. So it definitely feels more natural, and you know what I mean? Honestly, are you talking about the biomes in Dungeon Alchemist Claw or D&D in general? Gotcha. My personal favorite biome in Dungeon Alchemist is the cave biome. I was making caves before there was caves. And I am just a big proponent of that biome in particular. Yeah, this map has a mood to it. The oversized trees mixed with the scaled down structures really could work for like a tiny, you know, like a Mouse Ritter type setting, or could be a normal village nestled in some ancient trees that are just massive Hyperion sized trees. I really like the feel of this. Zach, Dungeon Alchemist is available on Steam. You can find a link to our website on our profile that goes to dungeonalchemist.com, and then there's links to Steam and our Discord and other places so you can check it out. We have a free demo right now. In fact, everyone, you should know about that. If you're interested, Dungeon Alchemist offers a free demo that you can try out our forest biome and build a tavern, check out some of the various tools, and see how Dungeon Alchemist functions and runs on your computer. The demo's absolutely free. It's just kind of a slice of what's available in Dungeon Alchemist as a whole. There are 11 biomes total, whereas the demo gives you one. There is hundreds of room types. The demo only gives you really access to making a tavern. There is the Steam Workshop panel, which in the demo you can see it's there, but you can't browse the maps or assets. There's nearly 9,000 free maps and over 4,500 3D models that you can add to your collection of stock assets. There's like 6,000 plus stock assets in DA that fit mostly to a fantasy aesthetic, but they do lean into like early Western or steampunk, whereas the assets on the workshop can be from anything. I've seen modern, I've seen fantasy, I've seen anime, I've seen cyberpunk, I've seen futuristic. People are making all sorts of cool maps using the assets from the workshop to supplement their collection. So Dungeon Alchemist can pretty much build anything. We're hoping to expand our water functionality, so like seas and water tools. So I'm hoping underwater biomes will be part of that, you know? Essentially, that would be one thing I'd love to see. I'd like to see the Shadowfell, but our devs want to make sure it's done right. Another thing I'd be interested in seeing is an Astral Sea. Hey, Havoc, how you doing? Welcome back. You know, you can actually do swamps pretty easily right now. Swamp. Honestly, to get that swamp vibe, most of the time you really just got to change the light. But let me show you a map I shared. So you have light filters in DA that can quickly adjust a setting map to feel like any other setting. You know what I mean? So if you make a map green, it does have a more boggy or maybe a swamp feel, maybe ethereal in nature. So this map I made once on stream in 30 minutes. It's called the Murky Mug, and it's a tavern nestled deep in a bayou type swamp. And how I built this, very easily, I generated a jungle biome with floodplains, okay? So floodplains are flooded, pretty much swampy, boggy looking conditions. The jungle biome fits into a swamp aesthetic depending on the region. If you would prefer not using jungle plants, you could do the same thing with forest and just do a floodplain, because forests can also fit that same aesthetic. Now, once it generates, I then went into the terrain tools. The reason I chose jungle is because they have these neat vines as a paint. Notice in the water there, that vine cover. When you're in this map normally, it doesn't look like a jungle at all. But we've got some lily pad, or I mean, it doesn't look like a swamp at all, right? It just kind of looks like a neat little, maybe like a jungle, Amazon River type situation. But I guess you could still consider it a swamp. But I put in a bunch of these roots as painted ground here. And then I put some fog and some lily pads. And essentially when I was done with that, I changed the lighting here. And now that's, I mean, as far as your players know, this is a swamp, right? Yeah, Tara, you could just do a solid black image to cover the whole bottom space, which would work pretty well. Just to give you an example, I know why you want the transparent, but still, solid can work quite well. So if you take the customizable pane, I already have an image for this that I have on standby, but if you just do a solid black 1024 by 1024 image. And then you make it the whole map size. So notice where the dark kind of is there, it feels like a drop off, like a significant cut. Oh, there it is. I can raise it up to right at the edge there. So instead, you don't even see the bottom. That works great in deep sea maps. Hey, Matthias, how you doing? Welcome back. Well, that's awesome, Roberto. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But these, you know, they feel more like a deep pool, or the water is more boggy and dark. But just watch what happens as I lower it. You can see kind of in these lines here. Anyway, kind of a start. Havoc, how you enjoying DA so far? I get you, Tara. I totally understand it. And, you know, who knows, with time things like that might be more possible. Like we did just make a huge adjustment to the abstracts like alpha channel. Before it used to be really shiny, for instance. And it was so like reflective that it kind of destroyed the immersion that they were offering. So the devs approached that and made it a little bit less shiny in the last update. So they're always making adjustments. Havoc, I'm sure with time you will be an excellent map maker. And that's the cool thing about DA. It's really designed to kind of hold your hand at first, make it easy. And then with time you can kind of grow into the power features, so to speak. see if we can find it. This one here? Andrew? You know, the one thing about these streams that I really enjoy is I like that we essentially show you what is possible in Dungeon Alchemist. I don't share these maps to make you feel like, oh no, I can't do this. I'll never be able to do this. No, if anything, it's to show you that it is possible to do this. Either, you know, if you take the time to kind of learn a few things about the application, or if you grow with the application over time, or if you just simply download somebody else's work from the workshop and call it a day. Oh my gosh, the Troll Skull Alley one is one of my favorite maps on the workshop. It's such a tiny map, but it is such an amazing map. And you know what it reminds me of, Havoc? Have you seen those videos where people will make like a little, like a diorama of an alley in a book? Like a bookend in between two sets of books? So it's like a diorama in between the books? No, Tara, that's totally fine, and I wouldn't even consider that negative feedback, more just suggestions. What I would do, in your case, Tara, I would even recommend hopping on our upvote and seeing if there's a suggestion similar to that. If not, then creating a suggestion there, because then it's got a record somewhere, saved, and other people can see it, vote up on it, comment it, etc. It's Tara on, thank you, Seisu, on YouTube. Much appreciated. Whoa. Impressive. Let's check it out. I really love when people get creative with the stone and, you know, don't get, aren't afraid to place it by hand and make things look more natural and worn. Almost too much, huh, Claw? I would say that is the only thing that some people complain about with Dungeon Alchemist, is it gives them so much versatility and detail that they sometimes spend more time than they wanted to making their maps. Which, you know, if you got Dungeon Alchemist to be a time saver, that can be counterproductive at times, wouldn't you say? That's not a negative thing. You know, if you're enjoying making your maps and your players enjoy them, the time spent is never a bad thing, in my opinion. Personally, I actually enjoy making maps therapeutically, just for fun. So that looks like there was a portal here, but it got buried. Stargate style. They buried it so no one can come through again. And then each of these either goes to a different realm or like space. So this is like probably their workshop. Little respite. Not sure where that goes, but it can go somewhere. Just leads to another floor, I'm assuming. Cool little like glade. Now, is this a diorama of a town or a full-size town that we just happen to be looking at, like, RPG style, like, from the top down? Well, awesome, Tara. Thank you for sharing suggestions on the upvote. Honestly, upvote suggestions and upvotes and comments are a big driving force for the extra features that we tack on to Dungeon Alchemist with our regular updates. So Dungeon Alchemist was conceived as a Kickstarter, for any of you that weren't aware. And it was a very, you know, this happened before I joined the team, so I wasn't part of the Kickstarter per se, but from what I've been told, it was a very successful Kickstarter in that we had a whole set of stretch goals that if we hit them, would expand the development for Dungeon Alchemist. And we had, you know, a series of stretch goals that were all hit, which means all of these stretch goals will be future updates for Dungeon Alchemist. We've currently delivered on, I believe, like 7 or 8 stretch goals, and we're pushing on to our next, which is called Fun with Objects. Fun with Objects will focus on object control, functionality, as well as offer multi-level building, roofing, separate ambient indoor and outdoor lighting, a few things like that. But every major update includes power features that improve Dungeon Alchemist as a functional tool, more biomes, more objects, quality of life improvements, etc. So basically, when you upvote stuff, getting back to my previous point, the upvoting tends to drive a lot of features that we never planned to introduce. So, like, our last update included a green screen biome. They never planned to introduce that. It was just an upvoted feature that caught their eye, and they're like, yeah, let's do this. Things like asset importer, 3D model import was never something they promised to do, but it was so heavily requested that they added it to Dungeon Alchemist. So in a way, like, our community's suggestions do drive the development for Dungeon Alchemist. Not everything that gets upvoted heavily will be implemented, because sometimes they're just not viable for our team to develop, as we are a small team, only 10 people on our team. Over half of those are artists. There's 4 developers on our team, and I'm the only community person on our team. So essentially, we try and pick and choose our battles as to which, community suggestions we can incorporate or will put the time and resources into developing. With that in mind, thank you again for sharing your feedback on the workshop. Not on the workshop, on upvoting, because when you do that, it does drive a lot of new extra added features that ended up, that weren't planned. Nice little parkour. Yeah, when I was younger, I really enjoyed, going through maps and trying to, jump around and, get into places I couldn't. Platforming, if you will. I used to platform a lot in Halo 2 and Halo 1. Matthias, I really enjoy the first-person view in maps too, because it allows you to explore the extra details that might be missed in top-down. I've actually played in a couple of campaigns where the DM will stream the first-person view over, Discord or Zoom or Skype or whatever is convenient for their players. And they'll follow along whatever they're doing in top-down. So if they're looking at this door in top-down, they'll be like, this is what the door looks like. And they'll continue to look around. So their players can be like, oh, there's mechanisms on it and handles. Maybe the thief can pick the lock. Do you think the thief can pick the lock? The thief sits up and tries to do it. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? And essentially what this does for your players is immerses them in a way that they're much more used to in the real world, seeing through their own eyes. You have all these abilities your players have. They can fly, they can shoot missiles out of their fingertips, they can make fireballs, they can, take tons of damage, but we don't even let them see through their own eyes, which is crazy. So streaming in a first-person view that your players can follow along on the side in Discord from their top-down map view is great. That too, Matthias. I mean, if streaming it isn't an option, maybe your internet or your computer isn't ideal, or, when you're running the game and that, you could pre-record segments as chase scenes or handouts for individual segments. So maybe after they've cracked this door, right? Maybe this is a sequence of part of the encounter that they need to open it, right? And once it's opened, you could record a sequence by hitting R to record, right? And then open the door, and then going in, looking around, getting a closer look at the desk. And then this could just be a handout that you give to your players. You don't have to live stream it. Alternatively, you don't need to use just the first-person camera. The first-person camera is great, though. It gets you down at their level. you do have different camera options. The cinematic camera is like a drone. And I'm not going to lie, it gives you a lot more freedom. You can fly through kind of like a quick chase scene. Another one that I really enjoy is when a DM told me about this, and I just love this idea, and I'm obsessed with it. But they have a player who has a familiar, and anytime they're outside and they're like, you know, they're going somewhere, their player will be like, my familiar flies up to investigate the area, to scout it ahead for me. Like if they can tell an encounter's coming up. So their familiar will fly over the map, and they record a sequence like this that they will give to their players, and they let them watch it once or twice, the wizard, as a handout. Another one that I've seen that's a completely off-kilter use is things like landing pages. Dungeon Alchemist isn't just a map maker, people. You can make like immersive settings, like long rest scenes, cut scenes, landing pages that are immersive backdrops for your players' games. That is a loading screen for, you know, the entire evening. If you're playing through a virtual tabletop, this is something to consider to better immerse your players. This one here is one of my favorites. You know, you just grab the cinematic camera, set up here at about, you know, this kind of angle, and you could record this for 30 seconds, loop it, and essentially, oh, we've got a regional map, character images, maybe a map of their home or a place they're about to heist or go to. Hey, see you later, Claw. Hey, thank you for hanging out with us, by the way. You're welcome back anytime. There is some long rest scenes that are great on the workshop. So this one, I feel like there was a different one. Cutscene. Darn it, where'd it go? I'm gonna just try, oh, this one. This one's one of my favorites. This little campfire. Simple, elegant. Players camping in the woods for the night. Put some cricket music to this, maybe some fire crackling and the occasional step in the wood or something encroaching on them. Well, skyboxes are something we plan to address. The night skybox actually looks pretty good. You know, our devs have never made skyboxes before Dungeon Alchemist was developed. And then after, people were like, can we get a night skybox? And so they made one. I think with time, we'll get more skybox options. I'm hoping to see that happen in our either Fun with Objects or Tricks and Traps update. I can't tell for certain when that'll happen, but one thing you can do in the interim, if you're not really satisfied with the selection, go into the asset browser. Let's see. Let's try typing skybox, because I feel like there's a few more. So there's like this galaxy skybox or this night skybox. I'm going to download both of them. The problem with these really are only good for first-person views. So let's say you wanted a nice night skybox that is completely encapsulating the map. You download this dome, turn off collisions, place it somewhere central, and then just stretch it out just to the edge of the boundaries of the map, just so it's just beyond the corners. Then when you place a token in here, it's basically a night sky to the edges of the map. Encapsulates the edge. Pretty close to, at least, unless you are right at the edge. But yeah, if you want to do like a nice little cinematic screenshot from here, I believe there's one other one too that's like Northern Lights. I don't know why it's not coming up. Let's try finding it. Where did it go? Hold on one moment. I'm going to try and figure out what happened to this thing, because I know we have one. Ah, yeah, it's called Aurora Borealis. That's why. And of course, it's not labeled as Skybox. It's labeled as Sky Dome. That's why I can't find it. So that was the one we just did. Let's try the Aurora. The Aurora one is neat because it actually rotates. It's animated. So it definitely feels more like a night sky. That being said, it'd probably be better if it was a little bit slower. No. The heck? Did we just have an Aurora like a month ago down in the lower 48? Like within the last 2 months, there's been 2 potential Aurora sighting, like possibilities due to like excessive solar flare and magnetic activity. So this one is labeled as Sky Dome, one word, not Skybox in the description. Asmodeus, if you could update the description to say Skybox in it as 2 different words, and then if this were slower, oh my gosh, it'd be perfect. It does give me a little bit of motion sickness, but it's awesome. It's really cool though. You could slow this down by like a factor of 100 and it would be perfect. Because it would still rotate slowly enough to make it feel like something's happening, but not fast enough to like really draw your eye. But this one is pretty cool. My favorite of the 3, though, is the daytime skybox. Let's just make it day, right? Normally, when you're in day, this is what you see in the sky. Like, it's got a blue sky. There's no clouds, though. It's just the sun. We need more options, right? Would be cool. Let's try this 3rd skybox. Now, this is just if you want to get some nice scenic shots in the area from first person that are a little bit more immersive. This one's beautiful. Not gonna lie, it looks great. That's what I'm here for. Honestly, Mateus, that's like my job as the community manager is to answer your questions, provide guidance and insight, listen to your suggestions and feedback. The point of these streams, I mean, this stream in general is to showcase maps and assets from the workshop. What am I doing right now? I'm showcasing assets from the workshop. So realistically, I'm doing exactly what we need to be doing. And I don't mind in the slightest because as we grow as a community and learn and become better, you know, map makers, cartographers, and game masters, we only help each other. Thank you so much. Remember, Asmodeus, when you put in names or terms, try and separate the words so they're searchable as individual terms. Steam is just awful. If it's one word, it won't find it unless I type exactly Skybox or exactly Skydome. It won't even recognize the sky portion of it. It makes 0 sense. Their search is very archaic. Let's try something with this. Dooms and glooms. We will make it night times, dooms and glooms. Or we can make it gray day. Gray. It's still bright. Hey, Tara, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you learned something new. Appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime. Dyson, how are you? I loved your Wizard Tower, the 9-story one. I was looking at it earlier. Or wait, was that yours? Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't yours. Maybe I'm confusing it with somebody else's. It might not have been yours. Never mind. I rescind that. Well, I feel like I saw one of your maps in the last 2 days. Have you shared a map recently? By the way, how was your move? You getting all settled in? Gotcha. I'll try and find it. Moving in the middle of the summer, I do not envy you. Oh my gosh, that was probably the worst part. I moved to Vegas in the summer, and I regret it so hard. When Am I not seeing this? When I renewed my lease, I made sure that my lease ended in the middle of a, like, of the winter instead. Or, like, the fall, so I don't have to move, or in the spring is what I did. So I don't need to move, like, in the middle of the summer. It's a lot cooler. I really wish we could search by username. Just, like, even clicking on the name and opening that person's search, like right there, that would be a great. Just to see all their maps. Oh, well. What's the name of your map, Dyson? The workshop gets improvements in its browsing experience almost every update. I'm not gonna lie. Like the last update, it did get some major improvements. One of them being the UI to tell you how many maps and models. The other thing it does, you can do it through the Steam browser, Random Ladybird, but not through DA. Like nowhere in DA can you click on the username and sort by username. I really want to open a map and click on their username and just go to see all their maps. So another thing that was added in the most recent update, let's say you're like 10 pages in browsing maps, right? And then you open a map. When you used to go back, it would go to the first page of the browser. Now it goes right back to where you were. So it has a browser memory. Ah, this one. Yep, I remember. Now, another thing that was added in the most recent update that helps you if you get maps on the workshop or assets on the workshop, there is an icon in the UI of the asset browser now that informs you when an asset is from the workshop. So this little icon there, the little downloaded cloud icon, that means at a glance you can tell. Obviously in this portion they're all downloaded, but if you're browsing, say, where it was, you know, sorted to, like this here, there's these Palisades in here, I know they're from the workshop just by glancing at that icon. Matthias, oh no, you gotta finish one at least. Yeah, I love this one. I remember browsing it. It's quite cool. Is this the one, right? Yeah, the multi-level in this thing's insane. You did a really good job. Oh my goodness. Sarah, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. Much appreciated. Is this a particular setting in TOA, or did you just make this for fun? Like, is it one of the particular instances in TOA? Nice. I mean, it makes it more unexpected if they've either played it before or are familiar with the content or, you know, have the book. So, kind of homebrewing it a bit and giving it your own spin will definitely make it more challenging for your players if they have the inclination to read ahead, so to speak. I like it. They're gonna love it, I can tell. Already. Oh, really? Really? So you got rid of, what's his name, like Cesarac or whatever? The Lich? The one thing I always find interesting, or Acererak, that's his name, Acererak. So, Mateus, Dungeon Alchemist supports multi-level, but only if done so by hand. So, the first floor is supported with AI, this area here, right? But if you build not using this, instead of, you know, like using objects, you can stack up different levels. Now, the other thing, too, you can now build rooms at separate heights. So let's say you wanted one that's, you know, lower than the rest. You can sink it down before you generate it. It won't work. That one didn't even generate there. That's really weird. Oh, that's a room right now. That's why it won't. So notice I can place a room here. I can raise it up. You just have to connect the spaces between them. So it is possible to potentially have multiple levels in a same map. You just got to get creative in how you like link them together. One of the main ways people do multi-level is by stacking objects by hand. Many objects in Dungeon Alchemist, especially under the structural section, can snap together like Lego or snap on top of each other like blocks. So you can go in and grab like pieces like these ones and put them in as new sections. So our friend Dyson here, she'd raise up a section and then put little filler blocks in between where the staircases would be conjoining them. I'm not going to mince words. It does take more time to do multi-level builds. If you want a multi-level build, you are committing to putting some serious, you know, some serious elbow grease into the build. But multi-level is definitely possible. And has been for some time. Oh, Mateus, okay, I'm sorry, I understand. Is this are you understanding what I'm saying, or do I need to explain it slower or differently? This one here? Or this one here? What was it, why wasn't it working? It seems like it'd be really easy to put water in just this section here. That's weird. Oh, because it filled up the whole ledge. I get it. Can't lower the water at all. That's a bummer. The water is a set height. One way you could potentially get around it is with like an object, you know, like something on the workshop. But yeah, I agree. That's probably better. Womp womp. Oh my gosh, let's look at this Pokemon Center. Oh. Just a moment while we download the assets for this next map. While it is downloading, I'm just going to run a short, funny dungeon. Did my mic just cut out? Wow. What the heck? And my camera. Of course they did. Let me fix my camera. Yeah, I looked up and saw it was frozen. When I switched computers, it might have just freaked out a little bit. So I use a KVM switch to flip my keyboard and mouse between the computers, so I don't have to have two of them set up. And when I flipped over, it froze for a second. Anita Bergmans asks, what time is it over there? It is 1:43 p.m. So 13:43 p.m. Or I guess 13 implies it's p.m., huh? I live in Vegas, and it's actually so ridiculously hot today. Anyway, let's get that quick ad break. Be right back.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him.
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have to the fabled realm of
Goyak-Ta, please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
you stand.
We're back. Sorry for the quick commercial break. Just wanted to not sit there and stare at a loading screen the whole time. This map is based on, you know, the phenomenon Pokemon, which has been around since the, 90s. Pocket Monsters came out as a card game, absolutely blew up, followed by video games, TV shows, movies. It's been a running TV show for like 20 plus years now. Anyway, I definitely see the resemblance to a Poke Center, which is a stop for you to get your Pokemon healed You can get them trained by leaving them with the trainers there. So it's kind of a rest stop in between, or a long rest point in between your adventures as a Pokemon trainer. If you're unfamiliar with Pokemon, and, you know, if you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, or just never took an interest to it, now you know. And they used a lot of the interesting sci-fi assets that we have. Just put in a few custom Pokemon symbols. Looks pretty good overall. The map clocks in at a modest 30 by 20, so not very massive at all. Doesn't appear to have any animation to it, so it wouldn't take long at all to really export it as an image. And it would be great for a Pokemon setting campaign. Alright, moving on. Pretty much see everything in the map in just a few seconds. Check out this Oasis map. Oasis of 1001 Camels by Ulrich. By the way, we only have about 10-15 minutes left in the stream. Oh my goodness. We're going to do it. We're going to download it. It's okay. So, if you have any questions, need any support with your Dungeon Alchemist maps, exports, etc., or you have suggestions or feedback, now is the time to share it before the stream ends. That way we can take note of it. I do love how much faster the workshop is now. It's both in downloads and just overall performance when you are subscribed to lots of maps and assets. The load times are better. Prior to our last update, if you were subscribed to lots of 3D models, you could see significant decreases in performance and load times and just running DA in general. And it was because each of these assets had to be verified by Steam and load into your RAM as a preload, so we figured a workaround for that. Oh, no worries, Mateus. I love helping out. That's what I'm here for. Love guiding our community, providing support, answering questions. You know, think of me as the community funkle, the fun uncle that's here to just help you out and answer questions. Even if it's more campaign related, you can ask questions. I love, coming up with ideas for encounters, ways to challenge your players or reward them. Immersion ideas, better ways to utilize the tools that you have at hand to, produce brilliant storytelling results and world weaving. I'm here for you all. That's what I'm here for. Oh man. Like, if anything, I hope, you feel like at any time, you need support, you can drop in and get guidance. Let's say you're working on a map and struggling with something and you see that we're live, you can always drop in and ask away. And I will essentially drop what I'm doing to help you if I need to. Oh, wow. I love how they buried the Palisades in the sand. Got a lovely moat set up here. Stables. It's like a little boathouse or something like that. So what they did is they put like a bunch of the green kind of stuff in there. They likely, yeah, okay, so they use this here. Mixed in a little bit, some of the greenery. Seems like they went over it with a really light brush strength and just kind of a little bit there, a little bit there. You know what I mean? But yeah, it definitely has like an algae-looking, murky water feel. Looks less murky when it is murky. I have a question about my campaign. One of my players needs to do a penance quest, which a cult of Goddess of Harmony has given him. Cult of Goddess of Harmony. That seems counterintuitive. But okay. Let's see here. Is there... He should have found an opportunity by himself. So you intended him to do this quest as a solo? Or he should have found the thread for this quest by now? So I prefer the Alembic bottle as our logo, but Hendrik is my preferred mascot. They kind of go hand in hand, if you will. The Imp Hendrik of the Pits is our just unofficial mascot, but the green Alembic is, you know, symbolic of alchemy, i.e., Dungeon Alchemist. So. Both in this instance, I do prefer the Alembic overall as a more versatile like identifier. So yeah, that's just personal preference. So he should have come up with the potential thread himself. You gave him that opportunity in his backstory. Is that what you're? I'm just trying to understand this whole scenario. But then he didn't, so you need to do it now. How about you, Havoc? What's your preferred? Well, if he's actively part of this cult, cults typically, you know, demand lots of, like, devotion. You know, either through your acts or your pocket, if that makes sense. And if he hasn't been actively contributing to the cult in a while, it could come up organically that way, that the cult has been looking for him and wondering what he's been up to, or, you know, or he could run into cult members who are, you know, searching for him because he's been missing and hasn't interacted with them like he was supposed to. You could do either or, my friend. In fact, we have a new image, Havoc. Let me send you a new image that we just started using that I think you'll like. One moment. Find it. This one's also quite cool. I'm going to send you a couple graphics to utilize if you want. Yeah, basically everything. There's a couple. I feel like we've got one more here. I'm trying to find. Here's a few different images you can utilize on streams or videos or whatever you want. We also have a small little art package on our website as well. That it's like a media kit. Ow! Ooh, I like that idea. I like Dyson's. Okay, so what I was getting at is because he actually didn't do the quest line, give you the quest line, it seems like he hasn't been active in the cult, or so they either are looking for him and want him to prove his loyalty through some sort of quest. Alternatively, as a quest of harmony, yes, bringing peace could be a good thing, but at the same time, it could also open up to a larger, conflict. Peace between a couple tribes is great, but it could be peace between two nations or two, cities or whatever. Yeah, exactly. See, we don't know exactly what level he is, so the level of penance that he has to do could be completely skewed based on that information. What I really love about this map is it uses it could be everything from a simple, neighborhood territory dispute, like, this is my property and this is your property, to, a Romeo and Juliet type situation, like warring clans. So these are called Osbods. No, a Yakchal. That's called the Yakchal. A Yakchal is essentially this carefully structured building that is designed to keep food cool 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They can put ice in it and it'll stay cold because it is just a thermodynamic structure. Anyway. Should look them up. They're pretty cool. But they're used in the desert to keep food from going bad, as it uses the law of thermodynamics to essentially remove the heat from an area and keep it very cool at the bottom. What do you mean, Dark Steel Spork? On the number of camels? I can see. I'm confused by that statement. Oh, the name of the map to the amount of camels? Gotcha. Now I get it. I was so confused. I was like, wait, are you saying we're false advertising or something? No, you were clowning me. You were clowning me. How you doing, by the way? The thing about that idea that Dyson's proposing too is war-torn countries and escort quest in a war-torn, or even a dividing line of two countries could be so challenging in itself. Like smuggling a person or getting them safely across enemy lines to people on the other end. Escort quests in video games, absolute worst. Escort quests in tabletop games, very cool. Because, they're typically not slowed down by an NPC that is, completely useless. More often than not, you have... Yeah, exactly. So, the players have to, they've been tasked with... The player could be tasked with bringing someone through the battle zone, past enemy lines, into the other area, into, a group on the other side, and in doing so could pave the way for peace. Because maybe they thought this person was dead, and it caused the whole war or scuffle to begin with, or was a prisoner that's being returned, or something. Any number of things could be used in this instance. It could be someone's... someone of importance, like someone royals, family member or you know, someone they care about or love that was on the other side when things went bad, and now you're bringing them back safely as part of the quest. Who knows? But I do like that concept of using the harmony more specifically, solving a sort of dispute that it seems like a mid-level dispute, not necessarily a whole war per se. Is that what you're getting at? Oh my gosh, there's just a bear chilling. That poor bear. I like this map. Very cool. Dang, they put the giraffe topiaries around the well. Nice little outdoor bar. This map slaps. It's good. How would you use this map in your campaigns? Speaking of, actually, I'm just noticing the time. We're 2 past the hour, so I'm going to let you all answer that question, and we're going to start wrapping up. While we're waiting, I'm going to tell you all, I'm excited. I'm going to be in a one-shot in a couple of days. I'm playing 2 different characters. I've got a L16 Armored Artificer and an L16 Forge Cleric that I'm playing. And then my son is playing a couple characters. My wife is playing a Sorcerer, and then my son is playing a Wizard, and a Chronology Wizard, and a Gunner. So between the 5 of us, we're hoping that this L16 one-shot will be manageable. Hoping to have a lot of fun. We were given a small budget for the campaign of you can spend X amount to get your magic items and, basic gear before you start. And it's for my son's birthday. Mini Mac is turning 18 in a few days. I'm super excited for him to, hit that stage in his life. Honestly, I mean, you could have a desert region of TOA because you're homebrewing it. The whole island doesn't need to be entirely jungle. You could literally have a Sahara region where you have desert stuff, where it, incorporates different aspects of play. I really like this fortification, especially around the palm trees. It seems like they're taking special care to protect the actual, the farm plane by reinforcing it and giving it a chance to stay and hold up and become more green and lush. Kind of some basic terraforming here. And as a result of which, I'm sure that the roots and stuff keep this area from blowing up more, and less dust and dirt can get into this area, and it stays nice and cool. I mean, I'm just saying, because you have taken the liberty of incorporating new areas, you could have an entire swath of desert and incorporate it as a new, homebrew concept that nothing grows there for some reason. It's the only area in all of TOA where nothing grows successfully, and it's a mystery. There could be a magical item that drives it, or a curse, or, someone stopping it through, specific care. And it could just be a whole subplot. But at the same time, an item like that could be really useful to exploring the jungle if you can control the storms and stuff as you navigate it. A Tizi is a dungeon world variant that is ancient Egyptian-like. So this probably would fit right in to at least that aesthetic. I think it looks great. I have a question for you all. So, my camera, right now, when I'm looking at it, it is placed in between my ultra-wide monitor in the center. So it's in between, essentially, a split display. One side's DA, the other side is browsers. Do you like the camera placement where you kind of see my side profile, and then I can look directly into the camera to talk to you if I choose to? Or, you know, would you prefer I'm always facing the camera to a degree? Oops, I just messed up the camera view. So, Darksteel Spork, we were given an item list that has specific pricing. And it's just called the Sane Magical Items pricing list. And it basically allowed us to kit out our character like we were L16. You know, by the time you're L16, you should have ran into a few items, whether it's for purchase or you looted them or crafted them, especially as an artificer. Cheyenne, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. And welcome back. How are you today? Cam is okay? Good to know. I always worry that people are like, feel it's weird when I'm not looking directly at the camera, but at the same time, you know, I don't look at the camera a lot because there's several screens. I have a screen above that has like my stream software and chat, and then I have a screen on the side that is just Twitch chat, and then on this side I have Steam, TikTok chat, and then one screen dedicated solely to Dungeon Alchemist. Having trouble figuring out stairs? So, Cheyenne, I will tell you, multi-level is a bit of an advanced concept that it's going to be not so simple to address right off the bat. I know you've only had DA for a few days now, and I'm not saying, you know, that you can't do it. I'm just going to let you know it's going to be a little bit harder. So if you are struggling, don't take it personally. It's kind of a difficult concept to grasp. So first and foremost, let me open a new map and we can kind of dive into how I would address this. If you're in a dungeon, typically I like to build dungeons in the cave biome. First and foremost, you can seal off the entire area and no external light gets in, and it can be inside of a solid rock cavern that you carve out to specific settings. Or you can, you know, have it be caves that are very, you know, labyrinth-like and are drawn automatically. I do have to ask, Cheyenne, are you trying to copy a specific blueprint, like a map that you know of, or are you making something from your mind's eye? So, Darksteel, I was able to make a couple items at half price as an artificer because I have the ability, you know, at L10 to craft uncommon and common items at a fourth the time, half the price. And so I took the advantage of that and made a couple items for cheaper. I bought a few items for myself, you know, just things that would make me feel like a level 16 character. So I feel like I did a pretty good job of decking myself out and picking my spells and whatnot, but at the same time, I've never played L16 in 5e, so it's completely new ball game to me. So we're going to see. It could be, you know, just a little bit of a struggle bus. So one thing I will tell you, Cheyenne, if you are ever interested, you know, obviously you can use the AI to generate like cave systems, labyrinths automatically to save you a lot of time. But if you select solid rock when you go into caves, it gives you a solid rock slab that you can start carving immediately. I really enjoy solid rock because I like carving my caves by hand. Next, a couple things to discern. Do you want the caves to place torches automatically? Different lighting or no lighting? Are they going to be natural occurring or are they going to be occupied? If they're occupied, having torches in them makes sense. If it's a dungeon that hasn't been, you know, the only thing protecting it are maybe monsters and constructs or, you know, things like that, it might not have as many lights, right? I don't know. And maybe the mage spent like thousands and thousands of gold setting up continual flame torches all throughout the thing. I don't know. Who knows? But depending on your scenario, you can always add lights in manually later. So who knows? Cave vegetation, you can do empty, so it's far less vegetation. You can do crystals, you can do mushrooms. I like empty for more customization, but that's just personal preference. And then lastly, room placement. There really isn't a variety of places you can place a room in a cave. The default is cave, which is water height. Okay, so I'm going to generate this. Occupied, abandoned by the founder of Hogwarts. Torches magically light on entry. Okay, so we could do probably like crypt lights, right? Or laboratory lights. Watch this. We're going to generate. Now, Cheyenne, some of the rooms, do you wanting them to feel like very like uniform, like they were carved, like they're structured and square, or maybe even round or diagonal, or do you want them to feel very cave-ish, like it's built in the improvised space? Or maybe a little column A, column B. Okay, so it's a little bit of rooms that are carved into the rock, maybe rooms built into the rock, or actually just carved into the rock, and some natural caves. Cool, I can work with that. So to start, I'm going to go into the AI room tool, and I'm going to select Crypt. Crypt is great for dungeons of all types. Abandoned ruins work pretty well as well too, because they have the spider lair and the temple. The spider lair is a great little dungeon room. But castle also can fit. Some of them work like dungeon cells, etc. But I like sticking to crypts. Now, one thing you can do with the AI settings is you can start carving out rooms, and it'll just immediately start setting them up into the stone. So let's say I want to draw a room shape like this, with like a cascading point that goes into a tunnel over here to the side, and then opens up into kind of a larger space. So this is just the first room I'm generating. Nothing too fancy. By the way, if I wanted to, I could rotate this to make it off kilter. I could raise it up and down to give it more verticality. So start planning now to think, how deep do I want things? How high do I want things, right? And keep a mental note of that. Maybe write down some of these heights. So the first room you generated at 2 or -2. So I'm going to generate this just to show you what we've got. So I generated this. Oh, undo that. You can generate with, under the AI settings, if you click this here, you can generate without floors, you can generate without doors or windows. I'm going to leave off windows, but I want to generate it with objects, walls, doors, and floors, okay? So I'm going to regenerate this. It put in some neat stone floors, it put in some walls, and it carved the rock right out for me. The door isn't really where I wanted it. But the AI can't really predict where I want the door. It's not a mind reader, right? So in this case, I'm just going to move the door, put that pillar there, put another pillar there, line it up really good, put another pillar there. So now it's got some symmetry. You could put some other lighting and stuff in here. But just to start, we generated this, and it's got a great little dungeon vibe to it. What I love to do is, I notice a lot of people don't really like these slanted walls. If you're in a virtual tabletop, your players will never see these rock walls. But for your own personal sanity, you can go into the cave tools, set the brush size up, and just raise the cave area up. Notice how it brings that up, nice tight seamed rock seals up against the wall. And at the top of the rock, it's got that black seal on it. If I use a different cave tool, like a different terrain tool, such as the lower or flattened terrain, it will actually get rid of that darkness on the top. That dark tells the export where to draw lines of sight or walls. So if you're using the cave tool, it actually automatically creates line of sight walls when it reaches the top. And as a result of which, it creates a better immersive setting. Now, we're bringing these rock walls up nice and seamed and clean here, right? Let's say we wanted a passage over here that goes into caves. Heck, this could lead to a secret passage somewhere, and this whole area could be like catacombs, right? So let's change these walls to give it a more catacomb feel. I'm gonna go into stone and find the catacombs. I'm just going to change the inner wall to be all catacombs. So now it just feels like I'm in an abandoned like sewer type area. This is pretty normal, right? This could be the first stage that they find, and then you could put a secret door or something like that. We have catacomb doors. The one here would be a door that opens up into the secret cave behind it. You don't have to do this, I'm just giving you a few examples. So now I'm going to use the Carve Cave tool. I'm going to bring this down to very small. For the thin kind of opening behind this. I'm noticing it's not going as deep as I want it to, so we're going to have to use the terrain carving tools. Between the two different tools, you can do a lot. So what I've done now is kind of trim this out to be a cave opening that naturally happens behind this. Again, you can always come back into the Raise Cave tool after and tighten up these edges if you want to, just to make sure the line of sight at the top is cleaner. And it's a nice thin passage. Actually, that goes much deeper than I wanted it to. Okay, let's do flattened terrain to room height. There we go. And this can open up or stay into tight, small passages if you want. Weird. You could make this a large, opening over here all of a sudden. Or you could have it go up even higher. So you could start raising the terrain and have areas where it starts raising up a little bit, like a slant, and then have a ladder or something of that nature to get up to another region. So using the terrain tools multi-level is very possible. Yep, for the passages, I'm using the terrain carving tool because it has more tools than the cave carving tool. The cave carving tool essentially can only raise a cave, carve a cave, But it only allows to a certain height, it would appear. So you're going to want to use a kind of a combination of the two. The cave area tool, though, just make sure you go around the edges of your caves with it and give it a nice highlight so the edges are dark and are perfect lines of sight that your players can't see over. I mean, technically, if you were using a virtual tabletop, your players wouldn't be able to see past this point, the wall. So they'd have to do an investigation check to determine there's a secret or no. But if you really are intrigued with hiding it, you could use something like a rock. We have rocks and arches. The rocks will be more matching to the terrain. So you could take something like this and turn off collisions and then cover the top entirely. And if you mix and match rocks like this throughout the area of the build, it'll feel more natural and not the one place you do it. So you can kind of break up the monotony, so to speak. Remember, rocks can be raised and lowered. If you have collisions off, they can be resized. You could tuck them into the wall there to kind of make it seem like an overhang. But unfortunately, you cannot seal the cave above this point. It would all have to be cut down. Azael, we started over 2 hours ago. In fact, I should be wrapping up. We ended at about 2, so I'm sorry. Yeah, I stream every Saturday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry. I will be streaming again Monday. Every Monday I stream at 9 a.m. Pacific till 11 a.m. Pacific, so that's 3 p.m. Eastern or 6 p.m. CET. And depending on where you're at, you could potentially catch that. The Monday streams, I do a build live for people to follow along. I really like putting these little like pebbles mixed in to break up the monotony. Yeah, Azael, the streams are on Twitch and YouTube. So if you know where our Twitch is, we're Dungeon Alchemist on Twitch or Dungeon Alchemist on YouTube. You can watch the VODs for quite a while after. Hey Cheyenne, no problem. I'm here to help. I'm glad you learned something from this and that it helped you out. Now, with, you know, bridging these spaces, you can use things like ladders. So here I could put like a ladder, something like that, between the two. As kind of a bridge the two spaces type item, right? You can use ladders, you can use stairs. Now, when you go to stairs, we have two different types of stairs, upstairs and downstairs. Downstairs are distinct because when you use a downward stair, it always puts a hole into the ground. It punches a hole in. Sometimes that's useful. It can be used to make like immersive settings like this here. You could say this goes further in a place you weren't anticipating, right? Something like that. But the problem is you're going to have to connect to, you know, maybe you could just have another area over here that connects through that. I don't really like downward stairs because I feel like they really just are stuck to the grid. You have to use them in a specific space. They manipulate the area around them. But nothing is stopping you from using upward stairs as downstairs. So if you wanted to, say, grab one of these stairs, an upward stair is a downward stair if it's, you know, in the right place. Just move it a little bit, merge it to the side there. Got a nice little stone paver stair carved into that ground. Darksteel Spork, the one thing you'll learn about me in these streams is I don't like to tell you something's impossible. I like to provide solutions. So there may not be a simple, like 1 or 2 click work, you know, like built-in solution, but I'll always have, you know, some kind of way to come to the same conclusion, or I'll try to at least. And that's the power of Dungeon Alchemist, is it's a lot like Photoshop if you've ever played with it. Photoshop, there's a lot of different ways to accomplish the same task. Does that make sense? Like, a lot of tools do the same thing or similar things, or can get you the same end result. So Dungeon Alchemist has a few different tools that, used in tandem, can create very interesting results that wouldn't normally be available in the stock, like, AI settings. So use the upward stairs instead, Cheyenne, because upward stairs, if you disable collisions, you can move them downward. And if you want them to go down, just have a hole where they go down. So you don't need to use the, I mean, sometimes the downward stairs work great for this. Don't get me wrong, they're very situational, right? I personally only use them when they're the right fitting for it. Otherwise, I pretty much use upward stairs for everything. You know, it's kind of like the saying that like escalators aren't out of order. Like when they're out of order, they're just temporarily stairs. In this case, an upward stair can temporarily be a downward stair if you need it to be. Let me show you how I would address that again. You know, just let's dig a little hole going the other. In fact, I'll have a little chamber going off one way. Sound cool? Oops. We'll have a chamber going this way, chamber going this way. This one gets big and opens up. Maybe we could put some spider webs here. Ooh, we could put a lab in here. Let me show you how to put a room in an organic space. So when you're in room tools, you have two different room types. Non-flat rooms and normal rooms. Normal rooms will generate walls, windows, doors, etc. Non-flat rooms are essentially just a room that fills the natural space. Maybe an open-air smithy or a laboratory deep in a cave or a sewer. So in this case, I'm going to go to Alchemist Lab, and we're going to put I'm going to just draw it into that space there. It organically fills that cavern, right? And then you generate it, and it'll put objects in that space, making it feel like a somewhat utilized. Got a little close to the edge there. Might need to cut off some of these. By the way, if you hold control when you're generating a room, you can go to the edges and like cut off some of the blocks. And you can always round off the room too to make it more fitting to the space by grabbing these dots and pulling them inward, or do diagonal if you prefer. In this case, I'm just going to let's do diagonal there. And that way the objects will fill in the palette or the space inside much more naturally. A couple of the assets are raised up a little bit, but for the most part, we got it. So this is like you use the natural space. No, so internally, our grids, it's a 5-foot grid. It's a 5-foot grid, always, for the most part, when you have the grid on. Internally, to measure our objects, we set them as 1 meter by 1 meter. That's why sometimes the objects feel like oversized or undersized. But the reason we do that is some objects would not look very visible or useful unless they were oversized. So as a result of which, oh, you're talking about Donjon. Okay, Cheyenne. So Donjon maps, yes, Donjon maps. If any of you are using Donjon, their dungeon generator, the squares in Donjon, his squares on his map here, each of these squares are 10 by 10. That's his internal measurements. However, it'll match a 5 by 5. So when you export a map from Donjon, let's say you generated a dungeon. Let's do small, because his small is actually quite large. And we'll generate, we'll just do tiny here in this case. And I'm going to construct the dungeon, right? When you generate a Donjon dungeon, it gives you this size right here in the dungeon generation information, as well as when you download the file in the name of the file. So when you download the map, right here in the name of the map, it says 35 by 35. So basically, you could do that exact measurement in DA, 35 by 35, or you can double it to match the Donjon internal measurement. So our squares are 5 by 5, his are 10 by 10. So instead, if we go to new map, instead of doing 35 by 35 to match it perfectly, we could go 70 by 70, right? That would give us 10-foot wide hallways. Yeah, Donjon's maps are massive. Even his tiny maps are massive. So what I've done here, you could do either or, by the way, 70 by 70 or 35 by 35. So now that I've got 70 by 70, I can go into the map tracing layer, select trace overlay, insert the trace, and I just saved that map on my desktop. I have a Donjon folder, and that one was 35 by 35. This one, the Pit of Gruesome Chaos, right? So at 70 by 70, matches still perfectly, but then the hallways are wider, being 10 by 10. One of the things I hate so much is 5-foot hallways being everywhere. They slow down combat, they slow down movement, they make encounters boring for half of your party. If you can widen your hallways to 10 feet or 15 to 20 feet, always do it, because it'll increase navigability and give you better performance for encounters, especially when there's a lot of people. But if you want it to be tight, also 5 foot is a great way to get that kind of claustrophobic, very slag feel. Now, as you could see here, the Donjon map matches perfectly. I coordinated with Donjon to make sure our measurements and their measurements match up, as long as you follow that, 35, 35, 70 by 70, 140 by 140. As long as you're doubling off of that every time, it should fit. And now you can go in and draw out a dungeon in just a matter of minutes. I like doing this because it doesn't take long at all. Oh, one more thing I didn't show you, a little pro tip that I love to do when I'm doing these types of in spaces. Generate the room, right? And then use the I told you how to raise the cave already, right? To get it to be a tight, cave wall around it. Go in and do this, and then delete the room. So now it looks like it was just carved in there like a dungeon room instead of like a walled space. Not all dungeon rooms are walled off. It may be a natural wall, like a cave wall that was carved into to get that same feel, right? So what I like to do is take the tool for draw rooms, and you go to edit room, select the room, and just delete it. So now that same room, let me disable the grid. You disable the trace overlay so it's not as apparent, or I'll just make it a little bit more transparent so you can see through it. Now this is just a cave room that was carved into that space. Fill it up with some rocks or mushrooms or whatever. I enjoy that a lot. So there's several, like I said, several ways to approach this. If you want nice carved rooms, just carve it out with the room tool and then delete the space. Maybe you want a nice circular room right here. This one is 10 by 10. So we could make this actually a perfect circle. So I'm going to generate this. That's so cool. And then we can raise the terrain around it again. Oops. Because I deleted that room, though, now that room's free game to draw in, so you got to be careful by the edge. You don't accidentally fill it. But luckily, this tool has got a big, kind of broad stroke to it. Again, go into the room, delete it. Nice carved circle cave that we can connect just with a little bit of whatever, not that hard. But as you can see here, it is very, very... Oh yeah, Havoc, you've been able to... We have, it's called map tracing, and it's under this tool here. So, oh no, I sense your excitement, my friend, so I have no problem with it. So you have labels, so you could put a label over the map to name it, or individual rooms, right? We have 2 different labels. We plan to expand that with time. We offer frames. Again, plan to expand that with time. You can insert custom images. Maybe you want a watermark or a legend, a key for the map that explains what each of the numbers are. You could have an image or a text or whatever you want as an overlay off to the side. A lot of creators will use this as a watermark or a Creative Commons attribution license space to say, hey, you can use my maps in your personal campaigns, but you can't resell them or something like that. Now, the last but not least is the trace overlay. The trace overlay, if you have a map you maybe hand drew or maybe got from a popular module, maybe you have a map from TOA or Phandelver or something, if you have the digital version of the map in as high a quality as possible, you can potentially, use it as an overlay. And in this case, I actually am tracing a Donjon map. This particular map I just generated on the Donjon map generator 5 minutes ago, and then using it as a trace. Donjon, their measurements match ours perfectly. Our grid is astoundingly solid to their setup. So basically, if their map says 35 by 35, you could do that as a perfect match of 35 by 35, and it'll match the grid settings at 5 feet by 5 feet. But Don John internally, his hallways, his grids are actually 10 by 10 instead of 5 by 5 like traditional. So we just tell people to double the map size. So in this case, this map was 70 by 70 for a 35 by 35 Don John map. And it matches it perfectly. Oh my gosh, Azael, thank you. Thank you for the hearts. I just want to let you know, I do appreciate them, but they are totally not necessary, as we are a business that, we sell Dungeon Alchemist, and that's how we make our money. I do appreciate the support and the love, but just so you know, you don't have to give them to us at any point if you don't feel obligated to. Not to sound ungrateful, I just wanted to make sure you knew. I didn't know that it boosts anything that way, to be honest with you. I just feel bad because we're like a company, and it's like, you don't need to tip us. We do quite well on our own with Dungeon Alchemist as itself, as a product. But I do appreciate the support either way, and it's not like I'm mad or anything, so don't take it that way. Anyway. All right, everyone, it's time to wrap up. I really do appreciate all the support today. I hope you learned something during today's amazing damn stream. We showcased a lot of cool maps, a lot of cool assets, covered map tracing and multi-level building on the stream as well, so people learned quite a bit, I hope. If you enjoyed the stream and you learned something, make sure, if you haven't already, to hit that follow button. Otherwise, hit that like or share, subscribe. That way you can find us in the future and let other people know about us. As a small indie company, we definitely don't need the tips, but word of mouth helps our business grow tremendously. Likes, shares, etc., retweets, follows, all that stuff helps us grow on the back end. And if you enjoy Dungeon Alchemist, you use it regularly, let your DM know about it, let your friends that play D&D or Pathfinder know about it, so word of mouth spreads. Anyway, thank you so much for being a part of today's damn stream. Again, my name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility available on Steam, allowing you to build maps for your tabletop fantasy settings in moments, or you can roll up your sleeves and spend hours building the maps of your dreams. Dungeon Alchemist has a free demo, which allows you to test it out on your computer, see how it runs. The demo is available on Steam, under no obligation to purchase if you try the demo. But do keep in mind the demo is only a small slice of what Dungeon Alchemist actually offers. You only get access to one of our 11 biomes, the forest biome, and only are able to build taverns, whereas normally you have 11 biomes, tons of room types, thousands of objects at your disposal, allowing you to build all sorts of intricate and beautifully detailed maps. Thank you for participating in today's stream. Whether you were actively chatting, hitting that like button the whole time, or it was your first stream, or maybe you were just lurking today, thank you for being here. I appreciate you supporting community initiatives. Our next stream will be Monday. That's at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. CET. Mapmaker Monday is a focus on live builds. So we will build a map for you to watch and learn. You can give suggestions and feedback to the build and get live support. This next Monday, we'll actually be picking a new theme that will allow us to build this map together. The last theme was a wizard tower, a 4-story wizard tower with a observatory at the top, in fact. Let's take a look at it before we wrap up. But I love to build maps to show you how to take on advanced concepts, or maybe how to address something that you're not sure of how to do in Dungeon Alchemist currently. So in this one, we addressed multi-level and roofing in a build that, people think that's not normally possible in Dungeon Alchemist. But it is definitely. So here we have a rooftop that is the observatory roof with a, a weather vane that can capture electricity. There's an observatory opening with a deck and a large telescope. I designed this map in a way that pretty much each level can be pulled apart and looked at, kind of like a diorama that you can kind of carefully pull apart, like a Lego building or something. Anyway. Additionally, the entire map is navigable in first person. So I'm going to put a token inside so y'all can see. But we built this over the course of about 5 or 6 streams. About an hour and a half per stream building. So here, as you can see, you got the lovely skybox out there with the moon. You can see the telescope poking out, prodding, and got the cord running down, the cable running to a switch so you could turn on and off the current, which I'm assuming helps drive the motors for the telescope because it's so big. Then you have over here a little desk to store documents and, his little star charts and whatnot. Here I kind of saw this as like a storage space for his different treasures, his astral treasures. Excuse me. This device here is called a Doomsday device. Alternatively, you could put a Doomsday device here instead, and instead of being an observatory, it could be a Doomsday port. Doomsday device! Here we have the bedroom. Has a bath, bed, storage, puppy. Going down again. We have the study. Library / study kind of area. And then lastly, the hearth, food, kitchen area. Yes, everything you see in this build, you can definitely do. If the asset isn't built into Dungeon Alchemist, the only place otherwise that it could be located was the workshop. So this duck here, I did find on the workshop and put it in there. So this duck I located on the workshop and just dropped it in. This actually was shared by our lead developer, Aranis, if I'm not mistaken. And then if you get down to the bottom floor, the bottom floor under all the storage here is a hatch, which actually leads to an escape, which is back here. There's a tunnel. Secret tunnel. That's a little bit like it, isn't it, huh? And then this tower, I see it as the Wizard's Respite. Literally, the only way to get here is by teleportation or by flying. It's not an easy place to get to. It's deep in the middle of a forest. There's no direct path or trail to it. Essentially, the wizard built this in the middle of nowhere to get away, to practice their magic in private, and to expand their knowledge of, alchemy and potions and whatnot, so they can just get away and do their magical training if they want to. All right, everyone. We have now gone 45 minutes past the allotted time, so I'm going to wrap up the stream. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for participating in the damn stream. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is available on Steam as a free demo or as an early access application. We have provided 7 major updates to Dungeon Alchemist and have 6 more to go, or 5 more to go, each of which expands the functionality, provides new biomes, new features, new assets, etc. Thank you so much for participating. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Back out. Bye.